So boom, I want to take it back to Mark 6, right? And in this time, Jesus had, sent out his disciples. He sent out the 12 disciples and sent them out by two. And, after a very long, successful time of ministry for the disciples, they cast out demons, they healed the sick, they just basically preached the whole entire gospel, and many people were saved through it. Jesus eventually ended up telling them to rest. And through this rest that Jesus told them to go on, he told them to get in the boat, and basically they were let out into the sea. As many of the people saw that they were leaving, many people from different cities ran by foot, trying to get their attention, trying to get healed, trying to get saved, and all kinds of things. Now, I'm pretty sure that the disciples in some aspect or some way were probably very, very frustrated, very, very tired, very, very hungry. And this was a great opportunity for them to rest, but more people just kept coming and coming and coming. It was getting so, overwhelming for the disciples, to the point where, they just started to tell Jesus, like, it's late in the hour. Why don't you, just send them off into the surrounding villages and this, that, and the third, so they could be able to, get their, needs provided for in regards, food and stuff like that. Although the disciples were pretty irritated and tired, Jesus actually delighted in, the people coming to him, because he saw them like scattered and lost sheep. He was, supposed to tend to, that he was supposed to shepherd over. But as the disciples suggested to Jesus, like, send them off, somewhere else so they can, get their needs provided for. And this right here is the most important scripture that I want to read to y'all. And this is verses 37 through 38. And as I said before, Jesus' response to the disciples telling, Jesus, to turn them away so that, people in the surrounding villages can, feed them. Jesus then answered, "You give them something to eat." And I'm pretty sure this probably confused the disciples. The disciples like, we barely have enough to feed ourselves. And if we barely have enough to feed ourselves, how are we going to be able to feed all these multitudes of people? Then it says, and then they said to him, "Shall we go and buy 200 denarii worth of bread and give them something to eat?" But he said to them, "How many loaves do you have? Go and see." And when they found out, they said 5 and 2 fish. So we see that through Jesus' instruction, through Jesus' command, and through the disciples' confusion, and through the disciples' curiosity, there came a solution. That solution literally came with 4 words. What do you have? Just when the disciples thought that they didn't have enough to feed the great multitude, just when the disciples thought that they had to gather more funds and gather more, money to be able to feed the people, Jesus ended up telling them, look at what's around you. What do you have left? And what is it that I have already supplied and that I have already given you, are you not utilizing and using to your advantage? Through them using the resources that in which God had given them for them to use to their advantage. And Jesus was able to feed the 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fish. And through all of this, everybody was provided for. And as I was looking at this scripture, and as I was looking at, this conversation me and my sister in Christ was having about stewardship and stewarding and using wisdom on what God has blessed you with, or what God has given to you to use and utilize in the moment in which you are in, I started thinking to myself, and I started asking myself questions. Like, am I utilizing what God has given me to the best of my advantage? What is it that is right in front of me that I need to take advantage of? What is the opportunities that lay ahead right in front of me for me to be able to walk and move into the next step in which God is trying to take me into? And too many times, too many of us have the tools. We have the insight. We have the people. We have the business plan. We have the opportunity. But yet we do not utilize it to our best ability, and then we wonder why we're stuck in the rut, and we wonder why we're stuck in a ditch, and why things don't move on forward. And when things don't move forward in the way which we want it, we start to ask God for more. God bless me more. God bless me more of this. God bless me more of that. But God is saying, why would I bless you with more when you can't even utilize or handle the little in which I've already given you? God is like, I've already done my part. God is like, I've already went steps ahead of you. I've placed the people in front of you. I've placed the opportunities in front of you. I've given you the ideas. But yet, you stay stagnant. Yet, you're more of a hearer of my instruction than you are a doer. My son, my daughter, I can give you the provision because I'm your provider. I can supply all of your needs because I know that this is what you need for you to move on to the next step, for you to take off into the next new level. But there is only so much I can do, because faith without works is dead. It says in Psalm 23, and he leads me beside the still waters, meaning he's our guide, he's our instructor. And we can take comfort and we can take heart in knowing that he's going to provide for every need, and that he's going to be every step ahead of us in leading us where he needs us to be. But there's only so much God can do. There's too many of you sitting on so many gifts, so many talents, so many business opportunities, so many things that can launch you to where God needs you to be. But because you feel like the little God is giving you is not important, or you feel like it's not enough, you feel like it's not useful. But God is even here to tell you, brother or sister, that even through the small things, even through the things where they don't look, or they're not wrapped, or they're not sealed in the way that you want it to look, does not mean that my hand's not in it. And this does not mean that it is not something I don't want for you. But I need you to get on board, and I need you to meet me halfway, because I can't keep doing all the work for you. Eventually, it's a you thing. Eventually, you have to put your foot to the pedal, and you have to use what has already been given you. Use the resources I've laid right in front of you. And even if you have to pray, even if you have to fast, even if you have to ask God questions like, God, show me what you have laid out before me. Show me the resources. Show me the ideas. Show me everything. And sometimes you have to go back to past things God has told you. Sometimes you have to go back to past notes and business plans, all kinds of things, to remember what God has spoken to you, just so you can meditate on these things and allow it to marinate in your spirit, allow it to marinate in your mind, allow it to marinate in your heart. But like I said before, don't let what it looks like, don't let even what it sounds like deteriorate you or stop you from utilizing the very exact things in which God has given you through your gift, through your calling, through whatever is placed right in front of your face, to move you forward in him. Because even James 1:17 says that every good gift, every perfect gift comes from above, from the Father. Every good gift, every good game plan, every good strategy, every good provision comes from the Father from up above. So look back and see what God has shown you. Look back and see what God has spoken to you. Look back and even take time to even reflect and even look back to see what is currently right in front of you that you can utilize and use to your advantage right now. Because there's always opportunity God has placed right in front of you for you to be able to take the next move and take the next step. Don't let your fear of your own potential, don't let your fear get in the way and have you self-sabotage everything in which God was trying to do through you and for you. Keep that in mind, for real.